We could be at a fabulous Emmy party, but no. This is Cory, and this is the O The Anthem Podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 232 of the O The Anthem Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for subscribing to the podcast on your RSS feed of choice. Thank you for liking the Facebook page where you're watching us right now, perhaps. Following us on Twitter and Instagram and all the other good stuff you do.
And, of course, if you're watching on Facebook, just make sure that you hit that little bell. It'll turn a notification on, let you know when we go live. And if you're listening to this the rest of the week, you or anyone else, live or otherwise, can call and leave us a message at 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
That's 443-219-7595. Let us know what you think about this week's episode, and we'll share it live on next week's show. And by the way, we might be at an Emmy party, but we're not nominated for an Emmy. And I've just reached the point where I'm like, if I'm not nominated, I'm not going to a party.
Really?
That's it.
That's you just like if I'm not nominated, I'm not going.
Yep, that's it.
You wouldn't take the opportunity to hobnob?
Nope.
I mean, like, is there anybody at the Emmy party that you would be like super excited to see
Nope.
this year? No?
I mean, there's a lot of people I'd love to see. There's a lot of people I'd love to meet. But in the end, what I would say is I will go when you nominate me. How about that?
All right.
All you got to do is just give me a little.
Bold words from Rob. I can't wait for when you get invited, like your representations is like, I got you a ticket for the Emmys, and you're like, I'm not going.
Not going. Wait till you give me an Emmy-worthy script. Or not script, but Emmy-worthy... Get my Emmy-worthy script made, and then I'll go to your Emmy party.
you'll attend.
There you go.
All right.
Well, something else that wasn't very Emmy-worthy this particular week, the performance of one of our beloved local sports teams.
I take offense to the part that you said one of, not both of.
Both of, all of.
Yeah.
It would be the Caps, too. They did not perform very well this week either.
Well, they're playing in preseason hockey. That hardly even counts. Yeah, I mean, you think life is going great. You're doing wonderfully, and you're moving up everyone's power rankings for like the best teams in the NFL, and then bam, Thursday Night Football.
Oh, short week. Oh, no, go ahead. I put you on.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a very disappointing performance by the Ravens. And I came up with a little idea of how Harbaugh could handle these situations in the future.
Okay.
Go into halftime. The team's all there. They're huddled around.
Sure.
Your coaches are standing right by your side.
Right.
Harbaugh just whips out a switchblade, like flicks it open for dramatic effect.
Knife.
Yeah, butterfly knife.
Yeah.
Flicks it open for dramatic effect, and then stabs Marty Morningweg in the stomach and lets him bleed out in front of everyone else on the team. And then just solemnly looks up and he's like, who wants to be next? That's my question for you. This is somebody who wasn't doing their job. Now they got stabbed. Who wants to be on that line? Joe, I see you creeping away from the locker room. I see you thinking about retiring at halftime.
Oh, how about that story, by the way? Yeah, and I wonder what goes to the guy's head. There's Ratchet People Meet who aren't Ratchet People Meet anymore. They're Ocean Drive. Something like that. They did a skit like immediately, like by the time the game was over, they had a skit out, and it rang a little bit true. Where it's like you see Josh Allen out as your starting quarterback, and you're just like, ooh. I'm already not.
I'm surprised Nathan Peterman didn't do it to him.
It's just like I'm not really feeling what's going on here. And then another cornerback goes down in the first half.
Yeah,
and you're like, you know what? It's not worth it. I've made plenty of money. I'm set. I got some good investments going. I'll be all right.
By the way, $3.2 million contract.
Yeah,
he just walks away from.
I mean,
just retires.
Is CTE.
Yeah, CTE.
Is CTE worth $3.2 million to you?
Well, no, but, right. To some people who've already... I would argue that if you're probably playing at professional football levels right now, then you have some CTE already. So it's like, if I already have CTE and I am just getting more CTE, would I like to have more money to have for my family when I die at 40? then yeah, perhaps I would enjoy having that money.
Yeah, but you also know that the older you get when you get those hits, the more damaging the hits become.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of science that's going to completely flabbergast us in a couple years.
Yes,
but
no, we've crossed over in the science realm, so Corey, not interested whatsoever.
That's not true. I'm saying, like, I think that 10 years from now, there's going to be some stodgy scientist who walks out with a report and probably does the Mueller and just drops it on the table. He's just like, all right, so today's the last day of the NFL. Questions?
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, a couple years ago, guy quit at halftime. Best thing he could have done. Absolutely the best thing he could have done.
He came in the next day, and we looked at his brain, and I said, wow, you were one half a football away from CT.
Like the countdown in Varsity Blues.
Yeah, exactly.
How many good
I know there was Not Another Teen movie.
Oh, was it? Oh,
making fun of Varsity Blues.
Whatever, close enough. They're both were shitty movies, so, what are you going to do?
A young Chris Evans in that movie, too.
Oh, as a jerk.
Yeah, like
he's a bad guy
the jock high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing him in that and being like,
Dawson.
I know it's a joke, but this is pretty good. He's pretty good. I enjoy him.
Dawson, also good in that movie.
Yeah.
James Vanderbeek. That's his real name.
Holy shit, it's the Dawson.
Anyways, you should check out Varsity Blues, probably.
Yeah, check out Varsity Blues first so you get all the jokes and Not Another Teen Movie.
Yes.
And I mean, like, there's other movies you probably should have seen if you're going to see Not Another Teen Movie, but I don't get time to list them all.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, it's She's All That and Varsity Blues and like a handful of other.
Yeah, and the one with Melissa Joan Carter.
Joan Hart?
Melissa Joan Hart, where she and Vinny are in a movie together.
Oh, Drive Me Crazy?
Drive Me Crazy?
Yeah.
That's a little bit of Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of ones.
Friends. Yeah.
There was like a whole American Beauty thing on there too because they kept doing the bag.
American Pie?
Yeah, obviously American Pie.
Yeah. So if you are younger than, 28.
If you're hearing all these movies and going, the good old days.
Yeah, great. Go check it out. Most of you are probably just like, I have no idea what movies these people are talking about. These seem like horrible movies. So back to real sports.
He says, not another teen movie. Yeah, but which one? Name the title of the other teen movie you're talking about. I'm trying to look for it right now on Netflix.
Back to real football, real sports.
Yeah.
The Ravens did play a game on Thursday on short week's rest. I don't like to blame that, except for the other team also was playing on short week's rest. So, it wasn't good. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm completely flabbergasted by many things that the Ravens continue to do. Like, at the end of last year, there was a real question. Is Harbaugh going to get fired? Is Morningweg going to get fired? Are they going to bring a new bunch of people in? And they brought them all back. And I think Joe was saying, like, I've had so many offensive coordinators. Can we just stick with one system, please?
Yeah.
Which is why they brought Marty back. But it's clear that he doesn't know what to do.
Keep his system. Have someone else call the plays. They're just not calling very good plays.
Well, no, but I mean, like, it's the fact that you have like 97 screenplays in the playbook is a problem. Like, there shouldn't be that many to go through,
Well, they all are basically the same. I don't know that they're calling 97 screenplays. I think they're calling the same play 97 times.
The same wide receiver screen. I mean, like, and also the other thing is that, like, the bringing in Lamar Jackson for like one play, because I just watched the defense like all point at Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Or like point at Joe Flacco lined up as a wide receiver. It's just like Flacco's over there. So they know that it's not like
Central Liberty play.
back in the days of the Wildcat when it first started happening.
Yeah.
There was like confusion when it's like, what's the quarterback doing out there?
Well, and also, by the way, do a quick snap. Don't go up and then count it down. Like, the whole point is
just have Lamar Jackson run in the middle of a bunch of offensive linemen and just be like, surprise.
It was a thing of like, as you break slow and let the linemen get to the line, but all the receivers and the running backs would kind of hang back in a mini second huddle.
Yeah.
And then break, everyone moves out, and you realize, oh no, the quarterback, he's out on the side.
Yeah.
Now, the guy I was supposed to cover, he's in the backfield. What's going on? Da 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 da. Oh, clever.
I still think it's stupid, but I mean,
no, it is
at least it's better than some of the things they've done. The throwing for the flag, I just will never understand though. I really
are Joe's biggest defender.
No,
I said take him out.
Well, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve. I mean, like, I think that if Joe, I made this point, I think, to you about Joe Flacco and Matt Ryan.
Okay,
they're essentially the same player. But Joe Flacco has never had a Julio Jones to throw to. He's never had an elite wide receiver.
Not in his prime, anyway. Yes, guys, we know Steve Smith. elite quarter or elite wide receiver.
Yeah, but
in the last year of his career.
And I mean, like, Bolden was great, but Bolden wasn't like a top 10 wide receiver type of thing, or also a top 20 wide receiver.
Middle of his career, right?
Yeah, like towards the end too. Like, I mean,
Crabtree. Did we have him in the middle of his career as well?
I mean, Crabtree is. I would still say he's in the prime, sort of, but like,
I don't know about that. I mean, if he is, then that's a quarterback problem because he's the best.
This is the best wide receiver crew we've had.
Yes,
for Joe, and it's time for him to step up, and it's time for him to stop trying to throw for flags. Yep. It's the most annoying thing he does on a constant basis. Like it's like he says, "I have to do this every single drive," and then he gets on third down, and he's just like, "Well, this drive's about to end, and I haven't done it yet." So I'm gonna have Michael Crabtree run really far down the field and just throw it in the direction of him and hope that the referee saw the little like jostling that was done 10 yards outside of the play. And it never is. And then Joe like looks down the field like, well, that didn't work, and goes back to the side. Make a fucking pass. Like, don't do that. And a flag should be a happy accident. Like, you should throw the ball and then like, have the guy get like the DB like covering him, and then the flag gets thrown. It's just like, oh, good, he didn't have to try and make a play. Because like, I feel like 20% of those passes get picked.
Yes,
and like Joe was perilously close to getting picked a bunch during this game. It was very, I don't know. I'm pretty done with the offense. They have to show up really big next game, or else I'm calling for torture. I'm calling for waterboarding the entire offensive coaching staff.
I mean, listen, Marty's got to go. At some point, we just reached the end to say he's not calling good plays. But Joe needs a good offensive coordinator because he's not a very talented quarterback.
There have been so many. I feel like so many times we've gone through this where we've been, Cam Cameron needs to go. He needs to go. Like, past time, he needs to go. And this is the same thing I'm saying about Marty. Probably with less death threats, but still.
Also, can we hire somebody? Can we hire somebody good?
Harbaugh should stab him too.
Can we hire somebody good after? The problem is you fire Cam Cameron, but you bring in Marty, and it's not any better.
No, but actually, you fired Cam Cameron. We brought in Gary Kubiak.
Oh, that's true.
He was great, and then we lost Gary Kubiak.
Did he got a head coaching job, right?
Yes, but then he retired. No, he retired from that.
Oh, he had the heart attack.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then he wanted to get back into being a coordinator, but the Ravens didn't call him. They still stuck with Marty for whatever goddamn reason. Maybe he didn't want it.
There's got to be somebody out there.
Maybe Kubiak's like, I don't want to get that Marty Morningweg stank on me.
There's
all over the building.
How about this? Tony Romo. He's available, right?
Yeah, just bring him out. Bring him out of the booth where he's really good and put him into coaching where he might not be.
Is he going to be any worse than Marty at this point?
I mean, like, I feel like throwing shit at a wall with plays written on it is a better idea than most of what Marty's doing.
And again, Tony Romo's the
like,
same
we could just get a monkey with a hat and some glasses, and he just throws the shit at the play wall. And even the team on the other side of the field with their binoculars seeing the play that's about to be called, it would still be a better offensive system than whatever Joe's doing.
All I'm saying is
3rd and 25, they're going for the run up the middle again. This seems like an interesting strategy.
Right.
This shit don't lie.
What was I going to say? Tony Romo, very similar quarterback to Joe Flacco. Not as physically gifted as others, but in some ways, I mean, not in the scramble, but yes, with the arm.
Somehow gets better looking as years go on.
Yeah, like got less awkward looking. I'm not gonna say good looking. Got less awkward looking as time goes on.
I don't know. There was a lot of people like 2 years ago or whatever with Joe who were just like, when did Joe Flacco get so goddamn hot?
Like, no, thank you. But also never really had the core, the receiver core or the running back core around him, or when he did, he lost him for really dumb reasons. Meaning Tony Romo. So had a line that was a little bit porous and couldn't keep him on his feet for more than 3 seconds. That kind of thing.
I mean, I feel like there's better options out there rather than
offering
trying to drag Tony Romo out of the booth.
What other options?
I'm sure if we Googled offensive coordinators who don't have a job right now, we'd find a
Wade Phillips. Does he have a job?
He's a defensive coordinator.
Oh,
yes,
all right,
he does. He's
he might do a better job than Marty.
Well, you know what? Bring him in. I don't give a shit. Just Wade walks in. He's just like, so I'm doing the offense.
We just need somebody. We need a one body.
Listen, you know how to do defense. So clearly, whatever would ruin your defense, we want you to do on offense.
How about this? Let's bring in the other Harbaugh from Michigan.
Just have Harbaugh brothers.
Yeah, why not?
There we go. This is a thought. Maybe he gets fired after the next loss that Michigan has, and then
let's hope.
You bring in Harbaugh, you fire Morningweg. You got a Harbaugh and Harbaugh thing.
Right, and the other Harbaugh is defense special teams. This one is...
You bring in the basketball coach from like Georgia or whatever, who's like the Harbaugh's brother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
Like teach the special teams.
Well, isn't John is the special teams?
Yeah, John, well, he came from the Eagles special teams.
Right.
And defense, yeah.
So he's defensive special teams.
Yeah.
Bringing Jim to do...
Jim, who was a quarterback.
Yeah, to do offense.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. Now we have the two legs of a very sturdy stool.
Two-legged stool? The best stools. I always love my two-legged stools. Especially after a couple drinks. They never fail.
Yes, absolutely. So Ravens did not do well. We'll have to be up once again at 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday to go see them play this week.
The good news is the week after that, we got the Steelers in prime time, so we don't have to...
Back to the home.
So we don't have to go like rough it at Big Wangs.
Whew, yeah. But turning to better sports ball news. Ooh, fantasy this week. Mm-hmm. What a good week.
Many delicious fantasy points were consumed by all.
Yes. Many people said, Roethlisberger, why would you put him in the head of your... Or why would you make him quarterback of your fantasy team? And I said, I got faith in Big Ben.
Did you get extra points for rape?
No, you don't. You don't actually do that. But it might get you on the Supreme Court. But more on that later. But in the end, last week he did very poorly. And I had several people in the one league that were basically openly wondering if I was going to get rid of him. Because I had Jameis Winston on the bench. Most of those people didn't realize Jameis Winston is suspended and cannot play.
Yeah.
And then somebody in my second league cut him.
And he might not even play when he comes back.
No, they probably won't. They might actually.
Might be some more Fitzmagic going on.
Fitzpatrick, who, by the way, looks a little like Conor McGregor at this point. Have you noticed that?
Did you see him come into the post-game interview in the Deshaun Jackson outfit?
No, what, did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
hold on, I'll have to find that for you. Keep talking.
So somebody in my other league dropped him foolishly, a girl who really doesn't understand how football works. And I picked him up and I said, I got a good feeling about that. And between my two leagues, Ben Roethlisberger put up 80 points, which you can't beat. And in fact, it was unbeatable. And I've really won both. I won both of my leagues.
Yeah, so he wore Deshaun Jackson's outfit that he wore to the stadium that day.
Right. You know, I mean,
he looks so much like Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor.
It is crazy. There it is.
Yeah, he looks like Conor McGregor.
I wonder if that gave anybody like a
seizure
effect.
Oh, for you, like
moving the screen in front of the camera. If I did, I'm sorry. Sorry.
So, fantasy, I won by. I scored 154 points in one league, 135 points in the other league. The Posse League is more restrictive on points, apparently.
Apparently.
Because I
still put up 140, so that was okay.
Who knows? And 140, did you win your game with 140 points? It's
over now, so 140 to 87.
Woo! 60 points.
Not counting decimals, they don't count. Until comes the week that I win by 0.01 points.
They count very much, yes.
Thank God for those independent defensive players.
Which, by the way, I've scored exactly 0 points in 2 weeks for my independent defensive players.
By the way, real quick, before we wrap this up, I would like to take 30 seconds to bemoan the end of my fantasy baseball team.
Oh, no! I forgot to check in.
It's awful. It was the closest matchup I think I've ever been involved in a playoff week, and it all came down to Manny on Sunday night.
That's who you wanted.
And whether or not he would be able to come through with like a RBI or a steal or a walk or something that would help me. And nothing. Over 4. And so my season ends. But it's tough this year because I feel like all season I had a really good team and I was just like waiting for people to not be injured and I was waiting for things to go on. So I said to myself, like, as soon as this all falls into line, it's going to be a really great team. And then it fell into line. It was a really great team and just fell short in like a super close matchup. And I'm bummed about it. Well, I mean, I lost 4-7,
right.
But that doesn't really tell the story because the things I lost were like by one run or like
one
by
walk, one hit, one RBI by Manny, and you win by 3.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have completely switched the score on that one.
If Manny had made contact and gotten on base in any inning, would have been enough.
I wouldn't know. It would have been 4-6 if he got a hit. If he got 2 hits, I would have been 5-6. And then if he got an RBI on top of that, I would have won.
So close.
So, yeah. Getting there.
I think we have rats in the walls.
I think we have one large white rat. Anywho, that's it for SportsBall.
Hey.
Quickly. She was under the table.
Yeah, sorry. We're looking for Carly Cruz, the silent guest star of the podcast this week.
Come here.
We're going to try to make her make an appearance here. There we go. And Carly making an appearance on the podcast.
Look how cute she is.
She looks so frightened. Wait. Go, hold her up. There we go. Look at Carly. Isn't she so beautiful?
You bug-eyed bitch.
Oh, Carly. You want to say anything?
Nah, she's good.
Yeah. She's
holding it for Kavanaugh.
Yeah, hanging out under the desk. So, we talked about some fun stuff. Now we get to talk about some not so fun stuff. Well, it continues.
Yes.
Cavanaugh continue.
The endless hell that we're involved.
So the average Supreme Court justice nomination confirmation. What would you say that was, Corey?
How long does it take to confirm a justice?
Yeah.
Oh,
In a good year.
excuse me. 8-10 weeks, something like that.
From nomination to confirmation.
Yeah.
And there's a level of the president nominates them, and then it's 4 to 6 weeks before they schedule the first hearing.
Mm-hmm.
The hearing
usually during that time, they do like a lot of press.
Yes.
To sort of like talk about who they are or like put out any fires of things that might have been going on right prior to them becoming. Because everyone's got something. So someone's got a reason.
Skeletons.
Yeah, some skeleton. So you could go out there and just be like, this whole abortion thing is completely blown over.
Yes.
You know.
And they also, during that time, are bringing out documents in support of their nomination. For some people, this takes longer than others, like not Sotomayor, Kagan, who was in the Obama White House. There's some documents.
In the Clinton White House.
Was she in Clinton as well?
No, she was nominated by Obama.
Was in the Clinton where? I thought she was in the Obama White House and then nominated by Obama as well.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I thought it was Clinton.
Anyway, so she had some time in the White House, so she had some documents that had to be produced. But like for someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, where all the documents that would need to be produced were her arguments before the Supreme Court, where she went 5 for 6 in 5 years.
Crazy.
Or 5 for 6 in 4 years or whatever it was. That's all basically public, so we already know who she is. And she gets to go on a little less of a push tour and a more of a like goodwill tour.
Yeah.
So 6 weeks after the nomination is when you'll get your first hearing. The Senate Judiciary hearings last a week or two of light testimony, like 3 days 1 week, 3 days the next week, and you're done. 2 to 3 weeks after that, probably the next week after that, the judiciary votes to push through the confirmation. Full Senate votes a week or two after that, and your nomination goes through.
Yeah.
Now you're on the Supreme Court. For life, by the way, for life.
Yeah.
So that is not how this Kavanaugh nomination has gone at all. I want to say Kennedy retired like March or April.
Well, I mean, I would probably say we're about a month out from the announcement of Kavanaugh.
Are we?
I feel like so.
Because I feel like there was like it was Kennedy stepped down and Kavanaugh was like shortlisted right away. And then we didn't hear anything for a while. Or we heard that he was the name, but he wasn't officially nominated for a while.
Let's see here. Brett Kavanaugh announcement.
I want to say June. I'm going to say June.
Trying to find like an article that says like when it July 9th.
Okay, so we're about 2 months. 2 months out. So 8 weeks. So in a way, I guess they're maybe taking longer. But I guess kind of my thought process was when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was nominated to the court, everyone knew she was going to make it.
Yeah.
Because President Clinton went to both the leadership of both parties in the Senate and said, all right, here's who I'm thinking about. What do you think?
Right.
And by President Clinton, I mean somebody who works for him. Not
Yeah.
And so like they came up with a
Clinton
name.
just walks into the
Well, hi there,
cloakroom and just like, what's going on in here, guys?
Hey, boys. But no, so somebody
Put away them titty mags. Oh, I'm just kidding.
so they negotiate, and probably Ruth Bader Ginsburg isn't the first name on the list. They go in there with a list of 5.
Yeah.
And they want Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So the top one on the list is a guy who's saying like abortion on demand, and the Republicans immediately say, no, absolutely not.
Right.
And then the one at the bottom of the list is like, well, listen, he's pro gun control.
What they're doing is, did you ever watch 30 Rock where they did what's his fucking name?
Josh?
No.
Dang it. When they bring in the new cast
the something method. Where it's just like, first one?
Hornberger
method.
Yeah.
First person is terrible. Second person is the person that could conceivably get the job but is clearly not qualified for it. Third person is the person you want. Fourth person is the worst of them all. And that's how you get what you want.
So Hornberger method. Yeah. And that's basically what you do.
Yeah, so Clinton probably rallied Ruth in at third.
Just using the Hornberger method.
Exactly.
But nonetheless, I guess the deal is you spend kind of months negotiating, and then you drop a name, and it's 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah,
and it's very smooth and very simple for the most part.
Traditionally with the way these things go, or at least how it's been viewed in the past, is it's a much like when you're appointing to somebody to a cabinet position. The goal of giving the vote on it is whether or not they're qualified enough to do the job.
Yes.
So, I think Feinstein, when she voted for Sessions or something like that, said, I don't like him. I don't think he's going to be a great attorney general, but he can be attorney general.
Yeah.
Like, he has the prerequisite things to become attorney general, and if that's who Trump wants, then that's who Trump gets.
Yes.
Like, so my thing is like, no, you can't put in somebody who's not a lawyer. I will not vote for that person for attorney general. But Sessions is a lawyer. Sessions is blah blah blah. So yes. he's allowed.
So and I think that they take a little more serious role when it comes to the Supreme Court.
Oh yeah, I know, but I'm saying
Sessions is out when Trump is out.
Yeah.
And like in the past, some names that you guys probably don't recognize, but Robert Bork was nominated in 1986 and denied confirmation because of some allegations that arose during his confirmation hearing. Clarence Thomas, nominated in 1990, confirmed despite things that arose during his confirmation.
With Anita Hill, yeah.
Yeah. And then we had actually kind of some smooth sailing along the way where it was a little bit of wrangling. It became a little more decisive.
It seemed to become worked out a little bit more in the room beforehand.
Yeah.
Whereas by the time you announced the person, it was more or less a surefire thing that they were going to get through because
unless
it had been kind of like negotiated behind closed doors.
Unless something publicly came out during the hearings, then it becomes bad. Anita Hill broke during the hearings.
Yeah.
Like while Clarence Thomas was on the stand, I think somebody asked him cold a question about Anita Hill. So that's an interesting thing that happens. But then, yes, there was a lot of working out. And who went on right before Kavanaugh? Trump's first nomination.
Oh, Gorsuch.
So there was a little bit of more wrangling, I think, on Gorsuch, but the Democrats are spineless and they didn't really fight for the nomination. So did they use the nuclear option on Gorsuch to get Gorsuch in? Or was it before that?
That was used before that.
Yeah. So there's no filibuster,
right?
If you have
that was done by the Democrats.
No.
Yeah.
No, but it's renewed every Congress, isn't it? Maybe not. Okay. So nuclear option was used. So there's no filibuster. Gorsuch got in because there was no controversy. No controversy over his nomination. Not as much controversy over his nomination.
Yeah.
Merrick Garland, information aside. But now, Kavanaugh, there is a bit of controversy.
Yes.
6% of the documents have been released.
Right.
Cory Booker, as we've discussed before, is the hero of the people who released all the documents once they were approved by his committee chair. So
Yeah, and doing the big show.
Oh, yes.
Right before he starts getting people lined up in Iowa. Yeah, so
What a phony.
What is coming through right now on Kavanaugh, and is really just like, I've been amazed at how quickly the story has broken, how many turns it's been able to take in like 48 hours here.
Yep.
But it's Christine Blasi Ford, who is accusing Brett Kavanaugh of when they were in high school.
Yes.
They were basically at some sort of event where she was swimming because she was in her bathing suit and he was trying to take it off. And when she was screaming, he was putting his mouth over her hands and like a whole bunch of like really
putting his hand over her mouth. Yes.
Yeah. A whole lot of disconcerting details. And now they're both going to testify on Monday.
Right.
So we'll have the whole breakdown of it next week. But I thought about this in terms of Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill, because I think there's an interesting thing we can do for this Kavanaugh hearing that will help try and make this story right, and we can sort of get to the bottom of it a lot better. When Anita Hill came out for Clarence Thomas, they did this thing where Clarence Thomas spoke first, and then Anita Hill, and then Clarence Thomas again.
Yeah.
So he was able to come out in front, sort of like put her down, and then she came out, and then the Senate asked her a whole bunch of like degrading questions.
Of course, yeah.
And then Thomas came back, so he was able to refute everything that was said. I think we should do it the other way this time.
Okay.
I think that Christine Blasi Ford should start, and then it should be Kavanaugh, where he can say whatever he says about what she said.
She gets a rebuttal.
And then she gets the rebuttal.
Yep.
Because to me, that's the only way that this seems fair, because it'll give him an opportunity to put the whole story out there, get ahead of it in the first part of his testimony. Mm-hmm. It'll give her a chance to say anything about like what he has said. And it'll give her a chance to put the story out, for him to refute it, and then for her to answer questions about what he said.
He brings up an interesting point about why doesn't anybody else at the party seem to remember these events?
Right.
What do you have to say about that?
Yeah.
Because as we learned this week, once the allegations came out, 62 female high school friends of Kavanaugh's signed a letter in support of him.
It seemed like a list that was underneath was in a desk drawer somewhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely was.
Because it came out immediately. It wasn't even like
the best worst thing that the Republicans could have done.
If something happened to me, it would take me so long to find a list of 62 people to say,
yes,
Cory has never done anything wrong.
Well, and all from the same high school that these two went to.
Right.
It's like, listen, Kavanaugh's done nothing wrong. We're blindsided by these allegations. But by the way, here's a list of 62 people from the same high school who say that he was a perfect gentleman.
Yeah.
Come to find out, I don't know if you saw this today, Deadline announced that they had contacted all 62. 60 of them basically do not stand by their signatures on the document. Only 2 do. Some refused to answer questions. Some said they didn't know what they were signing. They were just asked to sign something in support of him.
Yeah.
In support of this person they know. And basically, yes, I know some of you may be saying, well, it was high school. Can we all be judged by that? There have been allegations that he's been a bit of a drunk and a womanizer his entire life. And this girl is saying it goes all the way back here. And I think that goes something to character, that if it started in high school, it doesn't get better as you get older.
I think if you're going to make that argument, you have to be willing to bring other people out too, though.
Okay.
I'm not saying that there aren't other people to bring out and that they shouldn't come out if this is the case, but I'm saying like I think it's the responsibility of anybody involved who wants to have some sort of say in this.
Yeah.
If they have some sort of accusation against him, to come out now and say, because if he gets a seat on the court for life, there's nothing you can do about it then.
Yes. If
you feel like that's the time to come out, like a year from now, then you've kind of lost your swing,
Yeah. Here's what I'm going to say. In the end, all of this seems fun, and we should all do our due diligence, but he's going to get confirmed. But take heart, folks, because in the end, eventually, Trump will be impeached, or he'll be voted out of office.
Oh, and we should say, just for legality's sake, that Kavanaugh is denying all these charges.
Yes,
like way more. Usually, if there's some sort of a glimmer of this might be true, then you'll see somebody make a statement like, I cannot confirm that these events happened exactly as they're told, but I have a strong respect for women that goes back to my mother.
Kevin Spacey answer.
Yeah, like
I don't remember this happening, but if it did, I'm very sorry.
Or like this wouldn't happen under me. I can't imagine I would do this because I have such a profound respect for women, and it just doesn't seem like my character to do this sort of. Just like, well, here's a video of you doing it. It's like, that
was horrible.
But his was just like, no, I never did this, never, not once. And anybody who's saying anything like it is lying.
To be fair, though,
very strong.
He's lied a lot. When he knew that the facts were out there to show that he would be lying.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the interesting question of whether he perjured himself during his initial testimony to the Senate.
I don't think it's an interesting question. It is a fact. He has perjured himself before Congress. So this is why I say take heart. He's going to be confirmed. He's going to be put on the Supreme Court. Whether Trump is impeached or he's voted out in 2020, and we all began the long national time of cleaning this up.
Yeah.
What they'll be looking for is something called a high crime or misdemeanor, which is a crime which disqualifies somebody for public office or public service, and they must then be removed. It's a requisite for impeachment. Right now, Trump is looking at, 70 or 80 reasons.
Yeah, many.
High crimes and misdemeanors that he could be removed from office for. But we'll look at this and say, we need to get these justices that he put on the court off the court. What can we do? Well, Kavanaugh perjured himself while getting confirmed. That seems like a good enough reason. We're going to impeach him for perjury during his confirmation for the court and get him off. And then we'll look for the same thing for Gorsuch, find something that we can get him off the court for.
Right.
And thus, the long national nightmare will, you'd think I would say be done, but I won't. It'll continue. Because then every time a president puts on a Supreme Court justice, there will be an attempt to impeach that justice after the fact.
Oh, sure.
And that is how Trump has eroded our democracy now. Because he is trying to undo everything that Obama did. And the next, whether they are a moderate conservative or a liberal or a neoconservative or neoliberal or whatever, however they find themselves on the spectrum, they will in some way, shape, or form try to undo what Trump has done.
Yeah.
And that means that they are literally just following the same game plan, and the person after them will, in some way, shape, or form, try to undo what they did, rather than focusing on leading the country forward. And read anything about 3rd century Rome, and you will find that this is how the empire falls. You get one crazy ass fucking leader, and then they spend the next 80 years trying to clean up that nonsense, and then the Vandals are at the gate, and we all die. But that's going to be y'all's problem, not me.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be dead by then.
Yeah, it'll be our kid's problem. It's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, your kid's problem. It's not mine. Unless I got kids out there I don't know about, which might block my confirmation to the Supreme Court. That might be the one thing I have to worry about.
Like you're sitting at the thing with your little name placard, like the Honorable Robert N. Cheek, and then you're just sitting there waiting for questions, and then Cory Booker, who's still not president, is looking down at you, and he's just like, "Can I bring
what do you say about this little fucker right here?
Can I bring Susie up here for a second?"
I look over, it's just my sister. I'm like, oh shit.
Do you know this child?
Like, shit. Shit. Yeah.
Oh, I recognize those dimples.
Oh, God. Even worse. Let me put out the worst hypothetical ever. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. I am flirting with a blonde girl out in the hallway. I go in for my confirmation hearing. Cory Booker, who's still not president, calls up a young lady to the front dais where she sits next to me. And I say, oh, I'm about to get grilled for flirting with this girl in the hallway. Nope. Turns out, long lost daughter. Oh, the double whammy.
Jake Tapper's on CNN just going like, is this the type of person we want?
Here's the video of him flirting with her in the hallway. Shameless.
He has no shame.
No shame whatsoever. Anyway, so to wrap up the Kavanaugh kind of comments, the vote is off schedule now because obviously they have to hold extra hearings, which is good or bad. In the end, it doesn't matter. They're still going to hold. In our pre-show meeting, we were talking about whether or not if it's Kavanaugh sinks, is that the end of the nominations before the midterms?
No, I think I think if they think Kavanaugh is going to be bad, they might pull him before Monday.
Okay.
This is just a hunch. I feel like if they think that they can get Kavanaugh through despite what she's going to say, then that it happens as scheduled on Monday.
Right.
If not, I think they pull him before it happens. Like it'll get dumped in the Friday
news
dump. Yeah,
yep.
just like Maggie Haberman with the exclusive that Kavanaugh has been pulled for family reasons, not because of this.
Right. His whole family's just upset. They're sick to death about all of this.
They're thinking about it. He'll be on a lifetime appointment forever.
Yeah.
In the same city and never moving around, and like, he's gonna be home a lot, and then every once in a while he's gonna have to work. And I don't know how I'm gonna live with them.
He's only been on the DC circuit for the last 8 years, so I mean, DC's like a fresh new city for them, and
they don't want to. Honestly, they don't like it.
Who would?
I mean, they don't appreciate that they can't vote.
Taxation without representation. That seems
that whole thing. Like you're a judge and you can't do anything about this. This is fucked up.
Yep. So, we'll see. So we'll see if by Friday they pull him, or there might be some big thing over the weekend and they have to delay the hearing on Monday just to buy Trump some more time to pull him. Or let's find another international incident that we can tuck this Kavanaugh thing in underneath. Or if you see Trump going buck shit wild on Twitter about something, likelihood is it's coming. That they're going to pull it. But the vote's off schedule. If they pull Kavanaugh, though, do they nominate somebody else and try to get him in?
Immediately.
They're trying to get him in 6 weeks before the midterms.
I mean, I think they'd like to, but I imagine that the Democrats are going to try and do whatever they can to hold it out. Yeah. But I'm not, this Republican Congress / Senate, I'm not against the fact that they might try and push it through in the lame duck, which I think is still a real possibility. Now, but I think you have to have the name out before the election, and you're in the process of doing it.
So that it's like people have voted on this.
Right. Like there's been some sort of like procedure done during this session of the Senate.
What if you put a name out and then you lose whole-handedly your Senate seats?
I mean, I think there's a civics discussion that could be had.
Okay.
About whether or not it's right. If you're
Ted
Cruz, and you lose to Beto O'Rourke,
which he's going to,
and say, just for argument's sake, Beto slaughters him.
Yep.
Like 60-40 or something like that.
Which then might. Right now, the polling has Beto at 51%. So.
It's pretty tight. Yeah. But we won't really know until election day.
Yep.
But say Beto slaughters Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a lame duck. He's going to go home. I don't see why he wouldn't just vote for the conservative justice.
True.
Because they're never going to get another shot while Trump's president.
True. Unless
they can take the House and the Senate back in 2 years.
Right.
But
I think that's where it comes in. That's why it doesn't happen. Because
I think they just sit on it if they can't. And if I think losing the Senate is really the question.
Yeah.
Like if they lose the House, which they very well might.
Yeah.
Then I think that there's not really much hurt in voting in lame duck because you would still have enough Republican senators to make the nomination go. But
so that impeachment starts in the House.
Well, I mean, you're gonna see. I mean, we'll find out. I keep wondering what Mueller's steps are right now.
I think he's waiting for the election.
Because I mean, he's got Manafort in his deck now.
Yep.
And I feel like that's
Flynn's
all
about
you need.
To be sentenced, so we don't need Flynn anymore.
Right.
Yeah, what they said is Flynn only had enough to get Manafort. Now that we got Manafort, we sentenced Flynn, and we moved Manafort to the power position.
Right. And I'm sure Cohen is going to have some sort of say in this.
Right. Uh-huh.
But it feels like they should have this all fairly wrapped by now. I wonder if they're going to, if Mueller's going to pull a late surprise before the election. I mean, Rudy was under the impression, and not like I'm taking anything Rudy's saying too seriously.
Yeah.
But Rudy said this would all be wrapped up before the election, and he had assurances from Mueller's office that it would be. So
maybe it will be.
Who knows?
But nonetheless, I do think that the moderate to not so crazy conservatives who do win in November will say, I'm going to come up for election in 6 years. So that's a long time. But there are more Republicans up in 2 years. And if we push through this lame duck nomination and we let Ted Cruz, who lost, or Murkowski, who might lose, or Collins, who might lose, we let them push us to do this.
I don't think they're up, are they? I think they still have years.
Well, okay, so if you're Murkowski or Collins then, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm up in 2 years, do you want that to be the memory? That, yes, Ted Cruz forced us to push through this nomination. He risked nothing because he's out.
Yeah.
And I have to run again in 2 years. And not only that, we have to defend the White House and try to win back the House in 2 years. I just don't think you do it.
I mean, I feel like if you're a Republican, so I watched a lot of his confirmation hearing, and I would say that, clearly if you're a Republican, you probably like him more than if you're a Democrat.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as like whenever they were talking about how he approached case law and stuff like that, I found everything that he was saying to be very well thought out, and it's clear that he comes from a very specific.
What do you mean lies? Because he lies.
Well, I mean, he lied under oath at the hearing.
Says
but I mean,
like I haven't made up my mind about abortion, but he clearly has.
Oh no, I'm sure he has. But I'm saying, like, when they were talking about specific cases that he ruled upon and how he got to the judgments.
Yeah.
And he was discussing the case law that he went off of, and how he got to the hearings, to the decisions he got to, and everything like that. I listened to it and I was like, he's clearly a lawyer. He clearly knows what he's talking about. You might not agree with how he got there, or like the precedent that he chose to go off of, but it's not like he's just like a complete lunatic. He's a. I mean, as far as being nominated, he's a worthy jurist, I guess is the way you could say it. Like,
he's not the governor of Maine.
Right? He's not Paul LePage.
Yes,
that's for sure.
But yeah, so Kavanaugh is maybe the heart of the Republican Party. That's not what you're arguing, that he is the heart of the Republican Party?
No, I'm saying that this isn't like when we had Betsy DeVos like being confirmed for education,
right?
Where people are like, she doesn't even understand education. Like, she doesn't
understand
know.
what they do. Yep.
Like, if you talk about teaching principles, she doesn't understand what you're talking about. She doesn't get it at a base level. I'm saying, agree or disagree with him, he gets it. He's a lawyer of an exceptional enough degree that he is able to rule on cases like this based off of a knowledge of precedent, and
I would argue that he is a good enough lawyer to find the jurisprudence to rule the way he wants to rule. So even if all the evidence leans the other way, but he wants it to go this way, he'll find the jurisprudence to turn it that way.
Well, I mean, that's always, and I think that we talked when Scalia died about the sort of constitutional leaning, that everything goes back to the original script of the Constitution when making judgments, even over precedent-setting cases that come after it.
Yeah,
which is the type of thing that a judge might do if they lean a certain way or another. But this is the way that it works in the real life judicial process. If I go to court over something, say I don't know, go to court over stabbing somebody, right? I get a judge. I don't know what judge I'm getting. I could get a judge who's very liberal. I could get a judge who's very conservative. He might look at all the evidence of the case in a different way than my lawyer told me that a judge might look at it.
Right.
Like, he might have prepared me going like, all right, so it's not that big of a deal. You tripped, the knife fell, it flew across the room. No judge in their right mind is going to convict you of this. But you get the judge who goes like, well, technically, if you look at the statute in California law where knives can be arrows and arrows can be, it's like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then you go, basically what I'm saying is, like, no judge in America is perfect.
This is the Supreme Court of the United States. I
understand. I was saying he's worthy of being a Supreme Court justice in the fact that he knows what he's talking about, and he's got enough of a track record to prove it. But I'm saying everything else is the thing that's disqualifying him. All the noise is the trouble.
He's worthy of being a judge. He's not worthy of being on the highest court in the land.
Okay, that's fine. I I don't think that I wouldn't pick him. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
If I was president right now and they gave me, and all the people who got me elected gave me a list of 15 judges to pick through, I wouldn't put Kavanaugh on my nomination.
If someone has to say the words, even if he raped that girl, he is still qualified to be confirmed.
Yeah.
I disqualify you immediately. And Orrin Hatch, I removed my comments from earlier this year about maybe he's the linchpin of our democracy.
Maybe he can hold it all together.
Maybe we'll just impeach everybody but Orrin Hatch. Yeah. Impeach everybody but Orrin Hatch and let him be the linchpin of democracy. Because I got real fears right now about Orrin Hatch and his suckling to the Trump administration.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. But going back real quick, I did bring up the governor of Maine. Let's do a little lightning round.
Sounds good. We need a thing.
That was Lightning McQueen from Cars. The governor of Maine this week said what, Corey, about the crime in his state?
Oh, God.
Are you going to look up the exact quote?
Yeah, let me pull
you can look up the exact quote. So Paul LePage, if anybody knows, has had a call for him to resign maybe 3 times since he's been elected governor.
I think it's way more than that.
Official calls from the state legislature. He just got another one this week based on some comments he made about crime in the state of Maine, which turned out to be completely unfounded and untrue.
Yeah. So speaking about Maine's efforts to combat drug crime, Paul LePage said that, quote, the enemy right now are people of color or people of Hispanic origin. When you go to war and the enemy dresses in red and you dress in blue, then you shoot at red, he said.
Yeah.
So...
It's got a big crime problem in Maine. I don't really understand with the. But anyway, they looked at the stats, and it turns out that people of color commit about 14% of the crime, or convicted of about 14% of the crime, and people of Hispanic origin are about 7%.
I like how at the end of the first paragraph it says the press conference capped a controversial 72 hours for the Republican governor.
Yeah, it's not.
And then follows with Wednesday.
Yeah, it started out on Wednesday when he made the first comment that he was clarifying in that statement. So, do you have the Wednesday comment there?
The Wednesday comment?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Guys by the name of D-Money, Smoothie, Shifty, who come from Connecticut and New York. They come up here, they sell their heroin, then they go back home. Incidentally, half the time, they impregnate a young white girl before they leave, he said.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then he denied it was racist, but said that since January, he had been putting together a binder cataloging drug arrests in the state, and that 90% of those pictures in my book, and as a 3-ring binder, are black and Hispanic people. Asked by reporters to provide the binder, Mr. LePage said, let me tell you something. Black people come up on the highway and they kill Mainers. You ought to look into that. And then stormed off, telling the reporters, you make me so sick.
Yep. And they've done a Freedom of Information Act for
the binder.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to exist. And what they did is they went to publicly available crime numbers, and it turns out it's more like 14%. So it wouldn't really fill a binder. So Paul LePage is a huge racist, and also the governor of Maine, and also clearly has learned a thing or two from Trump about how to deal with the media.
Yeah, so somebody in the state Maine house, or the Maine State House,
yes,
called him a racist, Democrat. And he said, I'd like him to come up here because if you're right now, I wish it were 1825 and we would have a duel. That's how angry I am. I would not put my gun in the air. I guarantee you. I would point it right in between his eyes because he is a snot-nosed little runt and has not done a damn thing since he's been in the legislature to help move this state forward.
Yeah. It's a governor
so he
of Maine,
threatened to kill a member of the state house.
In a duel, though.
Yeah,
in a gentleman's duel.
Right. It was 14.1% of black.
Yes.
Were the drug arrests, by the way.
I do believe that it's something like 7 or 10% are of Hispanic origin.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So this is the GOP right now, and that is a good reason for another story this week that says that the wealthiest and I don't want to say lucrative, but the best supporters of the GOP are leaving the party in droves.
Yeah.
The party is really just becoming the party of angry middle-class white men. And I don't
know
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, to the Republicans in the world right now. Those guys don't have a lot of disposable income to be supporting your campaigns with. So maybe you should think about not alienating the people like the richest man in Ohio, who announced this week that he was going independent and not supporting Republicans. He didn't mean he was going to support Democrats, but in this climate, he could not support any candidates, especially those who would support the president. So, and that's happening in Alaska, and it's happening in Montana, and it's happening all over the country. So thanks, Trump. Again, we're in the late stages of the American Republic. So looking forward.
I really I think we've talked before many times about the take your medicine mayor that Baltimore so desperately needs, and the one we have is currently riding away from the situation on a bird scooter, so I don't really get that.
Lime scooter,
lime
not bird,
scooter, yeah,
lime
sorry.
scooter.
City has official thing with lime. Somehow it's going to end tragically. It's going to cost the city $250 million to break the contract.
Well, not tragically. They're all going to end up in the harbor where all those bikes end up.
But yeah, we're probably going to need to take your medicine president and Congress and Senate.
I got a question for you. I am generally against old white men running for president at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But is Joe Biden the president that we need in 2020?
No.
Is he not a take your medicine president?
No.
He's been trying since 1980 to win the presidency.
Yeah.
He's a long-term politician. He can repair our relationships overseas. He's done international. He is a moderate Democrat. He can kind of fix all the things that Trump has done.
No.
Who would you put in place? Who would you? Because it can't be Cory Booker.
Who
it
would
can't be Kamala Harris.
Oh God.
It certainly can't be Nancy Pelosi.
No.
It can't be Hillary Clinton.
See, but
it can't be Bernie Sanders.
I think the problem is that the bench, at least in my mind, of people who could potentially be running for president as a Democrat, in the coming election, is not in tune to the I don't give a shit about my legacy and I'm just going to fix this
Larry
for
Hogan.
the better good of the people.
Larry Hogan. You don't think? You don't think Joe Biden, at this point in his life, can't just go to be president to fix the problems of the country and not care about his legacy? His legacy is what it is. Give him a 4-term presidency and let him go.
A 4-term presidency?
A 4-year term. And just let him be.
I think there's more dynamic voices that are coming out in the Democratic Party right now.
Yeah, but they're not going to.
Not that I'm saying that these people are ready for prime time yet.
Not.
But I'm saying that I have more. If you're talking about the idea of putting somebody in place and telling them that they're a take your medicine president.
No, I'm saying that Joe Biden becomes a take your medicine president. He cleans up overseas. He cleans up at home. He's not flashy. He's not looking to make drastic change. He brings the entire country back from the brink of ridiculousness to some sort of peace so that the next election after that, the 2024 election, we can have some. You know,
I think the person who might actually, I mean, like he's a former president, but would fit nicely if he was able to run for president.
Jimmy Carter. Yeah.
He would, because he's that line between sensible, like sort of like homespun Southern white version of a politician with the Democratic ideals that would probably needed to be turned around, you know, because you're talking about a Democrat to turn around all this nonsense.
To be fair, he'd only served one.
Yeah,
so
but he's also 88 years old or something like that.
And he's had cancer scares and heart scares and everything.
I mean, like Biden worries me because he's going to be like 80 something when he runs too. And I mean, like the problem is that there's so many fucking names on the list. Like and I don't want any of these people running, but I mean like Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, who are all in their upper 70s, and like this doesn't help the situation. Like this
also doesn't help. By the way, Democrats, I know you can't fucking help yourself, but Ocasio-Cortez, really support her. Don't float her name for fucking president of the United States.
Yeah,
1-term congressman from New York, the west side of New York.
Yeah,
no. Cory Booker, also no.
I would. I mean, like, listen, if Ocasio-Cortez has 8 terms or 4.
Oh no, I'm not
terms,
saying she couldn't be president.
I'm saying like if she has
not
a solid,
2020.
If she has a solid 8 years of doing tremendous mud raking in the Democratic Party,
that's
then yes,
we
by
need.
all means. But I mean, like now is not the time.
Right, not 2020.
Yeah,
and not Cory Booker for 2020, not Kamala Harris in 2020. Maybe Maxine Waters, but she's also older and also not going to be a take your medicine.
Yeah,
she's no Catherine Pugh.
Well, I think the worry with Maxine Waters is that her shtick only works in small amounts.
Yeah.
So like when she gets in the news for like a comment she makes, she's in and out of the news. It's
Yeah.
like Maxine Waters. It's like a driving by and throwing a water balloon at somebody. It happens real quick. You don't know what happened. It's kind of funny at the end. Donald Trump gets all wet. And then you move on. But if she's on TV like every single day, you're going to realize
Catherine
how
Pugh.
crazy Maxine Waters is.
She's Catherine Pugh.
Yeah.
Or the woman who got convicted, Baltimore mayor.
Dixon?
Dixon. She's
Yeah.
Sheila Dixon.
Yeah.
Just when you listen to her after a while, you're like, is she crazy? Is she literally crazy?
Does she know what she just said?
I don't think so. All right, so I want to wrap up today where we kind of wrapped up last week, which is Hurricane Florence did come ashore in North Carolina this week. Devastation everywhere. And the one thing I just wanted to point out is the difference between the storm hitting mainland U.S. and the damage that Maria did in Puerto Rico 16 months ago or something like that. Because the loss of life was insanely low because people basically just said, okay, here's the cone of the storm. Go outside of that. Just move away. And we were able to save a lot of lives that way. But in Puerto Rico, there's nowhere to run. I will also say that, do you think Trump's response was somewhat different, better, or worse to this?
I think Trump is not involved in this one.
I mean, also,
I feel like there was the talk of staffers taking memos off of Trump's desk in the wake of the op-ed in the New York Times.
Yeah.
From the senior official.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that Trump has just stayed as far away from this as humanly possible. He didn't ingratiate himself when he blamed Democrats for 3,000 deaths in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Which happened in the last week too. So I don't know. I have to imagine that they told Trump to sit this one out, and it makes me want. Like, what really makes me worry at this point is, like, I used to worry that there would be some sort of awful attack, like a terrorist attack or something like that, while Trump is president, and then we're gonna have to watch him react to it. But I think what's more worrisome to me right now is that there's going to be a shadow cabinet that is going to handle whatever, like
shadow presidency.
Like it, it's something happened to the Freedom Tower or something like that. You know, like they would basically put Trump in front of cameras to do condolences and then pull him out and then just be like, sit in your room and be quiet. And John Bolton's going to like pull the levers on what we're doing. And that's almost a more terrifying thought than...
If we're unlucky, it's Bolton. If we're lucky-ish, it's Kelly.
Or Mattis.
Or Mattis.
Yeah.
Although Mattis can be a little crazy as well. But Kelly...
I do feel, though, that like Mattis, at least in this iteration of him, the Trump iteration of Mattis, has maybe calmed down a little bit. And he's like... He seems to be a lot more in the let's keep this ship afloat for as long as we can and not rock the boat. Hopefully. So, I don't know.
So we'll see.
But thoughts and prayers, not saying that flippantly, but I'm just saying, like our thoughts are with the people of North Carolina who are dealing with.
And glad to see that the loss of life was low, that the storm wasn't as bad as they were predicting. Mm-hmm. Damage was a lot, but not as much as it could have been. So, good things, good news and bad news all wrapped up in one. And a bullet avoided because, again, if that had been a Katrina-style catastrophe, who knows what might have happened.
One question I do have, or one that I've thought about before. So the University of Miami and the NHL team in North Carolina,
yes,
both go by the name of Hurricanes.
Yes,
the Carolina Hurricanes and the Miami Hurricanes. Do you think that that's weird that they name themselves after like a natural disaster, which very well could destroy either one of their...
Well, like usually you name your sports teams after bears, tigers.
Yeah, but Falcons. there's no I don't have to worry about like Falcons coming and destroying Atlanta and then me turning on the TV on Sunday and just being like, go Falcons. Like the hurricane hits Miami all the time. Yeah. Hurricane hits North Carolina all the time. Like
not all the time.
But like enough that it's right in the area of where hurricanes head.
Yeah, I think there's like teams in Oklahoma though, high school teams that are tornadoes.
Yeah.
I think it's a measure of like you control the thing, right? Like by putting a name on it, it's less scary. By like
maybe. I
making
mean,
it your thing,
I
it's
just
less scary.
I think that there would be like, if 1,000 people died in North Carolina this week, then there would be some problem with the people saying like, if there was 1,000 people dead, like there would be more of an outcry for the change in the team name, like
maybe
Baltimore Bullets got changed. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I guess we'll see. Anyway, that's all we had for today. So
Yeah, I think that's about it.
yeah, we've gone long enough.
Well, if you want to hear more of our complaints about team names, there's only one place you can go. OTheAnthem.com. Cory to OTheAnthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595.
There we go.
And you can find more of me at my website, CoryBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoryBakerFilm, and at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Movie reviews, new website coming. Check it all out.
Man, I am having some
And now
trouble.
the gremlins are out.
I'm on the struggle bus today. All right, and of course you can find more from me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. Make sure you check out robertandcheek.com where you can find links to my political blog, the news website, and the books which are available on Amazon.
Buy Rob's books.
And of course, as we announced last week, you can find me, Rob, at OTheAnthem.com if you'd like to send me thoughts, prayers, and whatever else in the week to come.
Kavanaugh thoughts.
Kavanaugh thoughts.
All right. Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Cory, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Arrivederci, jerkays.